Hi, this is Lauren with Craft Some Joy. If you're new here to my channel, I just want to say welcome. And if you are a subscriber, I want to say thank you. You are the heart of my YouTube channel. So thank you so much for your subscription. Well, today we are continuing my pop episode series, and this is episode number 3. And today's episode is going to be filled with making some really significant progress with your setup so that you can have everything ready to go and you can make progress on your projects. So today I'd like to spend a little time going through more of the trackers for your planner and also answering some questions that I received and maybe just clarifying a few things. And then I'm going to show you some next steps and how to get yourself set up. So let's get started. Well, I hope you enjoyed my last episode where I had my dear friend Maria join me and we worked on getting her pop planner set up. And at the end of that video, if you noticed, I went through my timeline trackers. And did anybody catch that I used the wrong form for my timeline tracker when I got to the 2010 decade? I actually grabbed the wrong tracker, which is the project tracker. And even though I have it all nicely filled out for you, and I was able to go through and show you how I filled out the project tracker, this was actually supposed to be on the timeline tracker. And so what I realized is that I needed to have another tab in my planner for projects. And so I went ahead and stuck a tab divider in here. So this is a little different than in episode 1 where I showed my setup, but now I'm going to have a setup for projects, if you see that one. And so I just went ahead and used my little brother P-Touch to make my labels. And also, in case you're interested in this little machine, I will have a link for it. And if you want to use the same font and size that I'm using here, this is the ATL 18 point. So you can see right there on the screen how I have that set up. And that's what gives you this really cute little font for the tabs. Again, I was using clear so that you could see the color through the tabs of the Happy Planner. And so I just go ahead and trim a little of the extra tape off before I take the adhesive off the back, just like that. And then now I'll peel that off. And again, as I mentioned, it's really nice to have a multi-purpose tool handy so that you can just use that as your finger. And then you can get your label exactly where you want it on your tab. Okay, so now I have a projects tab in my pop planner, and behind that is where I'm going to add the project trackers. Again, these are a free download on my website at craftsomejoy.com. So while we're talking about project trackers, I just want to, we didn't get a chance to go over this form last session, and so I thought I'd take a couple minutes and just go over how to use this. This is one of the forms that when I was going over these different ideas with my friend Jeanette, we talked about how nice it would be just to kind of have a tracker and a form where we could keep kind of a big picture overview of different projects we're working on. So this tracker I left very vague on purpose. And the reason I did that is because you can use these squares in a number of different ways. And so just with any type of grid, you can decide what's going to go down the left-hand column and what's going to go across the top. So this is just kind of an extra way that you can look at different album projects that you want to complete. Again, everything is entirely optional and entirely up to how you want to use it. So I'm just going to show you how I have one of these project trackers set up. So on this one, what I've done is I've gone across the top just with people, again, that I'm scrapbooking for. Now, I also do this for the timeline tracker where I go across the top and write who I'm scrapbooking for. But this one is not a detailed timeline. Again, this is really just projects. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of taking a snapshot and looking at all the projects that I want to create about me are going to go here. So when my mom was alive, we started a baby book for me because she never kind of finished the original baby book. So we started working on that together. And then I started putting together some school books of the different photos that I had through all my school years. And then I also have a college box of photos that I would just love to get into an album. So again, I'm using my designations. I've got IP for in process, IP, Pepperdine. I have not even started that book. And then also that little Let Your Life Shine book, which I highlighted in my 12 ideas on small albums video. And that's just a little kind of all about me book. And so I have that planned, but I have not started that. So you can kind of see how you could go down the different columns and find the projects at a glance that you want to do kind of in the big picture. So I've also done this for my husband. He does not have a whole lot of growing up pictures, so we're going to get all of those into one album. And then we're going to put all of his college and work photos into an album. For Betty, that's his mom, that's my mother-in-law. You might have seen on my Instagram or Facebook that I started a heritage book. And so every time she comes to visit, we kind of do a little bit on her heritage book, and I'll be sharing some updates on that. But this one, we've decided we're going to do from when she was born and a little bit about her mom, because we only have a few pictures, up until around 1964. And then she remarried my husband's dad, Jerry, and then Jerry actually kind of started working on family books once he married Betty, and so we've got all of those different family books categorized down here. Now what's so great is that my father-in-law, Jerry, has also done some of his heritage pictures. Really fabulous. I'm going to share a few of the pages that he's done in his books. Now this is what you would call, as far as what type of creator and maker are you. I just want to get my pictures organized and in a book. Well, that's where Jerry would fall. He would be in the one heart category. There is no fuss or mess with his books and pages, but they are all documented, which is fabulous. I love that, and I love that he took the time to do that. So he's done his heritage, some volumes of those are all completed, and he has started his family books. And so we're going to keep working on the other pictures to get those into volumes too. So that's just one way that you can use the project tracker. Now you can do the same thing for your kids. If you want to kind of see a big overview picture of this, you could write your child's name and then just kind of put in each box a different album that you want to make for them. So it'll give you a better snapshot than the timeline, which has a lot of different information on it. Now what's really fun is that my friend Jeanette said she wanted to use this tracker in a little different way. And the way she wanted to use the tracker is she was going to put the year in this column, like say this year, it would be 2020. And then she was going to go across this way and write down all the things, all the projects that she wanted to complete this year. And so she kind of has a timeline of different things that she wants to do for her grandchildren and for her children. And she was able to go through and look at all of the different projects she had going and just make notes here of different ones that just needed maybe a little bit more to complete it. And then she could check that off. So then she also kind of forecasted out, okay, this year I want to do these things, but then next year, what are the important albums that I want to work on? So again, this is completely flexible. and totally up to you how you want to use it. And just one more way that you could use this tracker is also to look at years down this column, and then across in that year what books you were working on. And again, this is kind of pulling that information out of the timeline tracker and just kind of getting a big picture overview of that. So you can see, like in 2000, I did a family album, but then I also did Ellen's growing up album, and I also did Adam's first year. So again, it's kind of looking back and going, okay, in the year 2000, I actually needed a lot of photographs. And then in 2001, again, family, Ellen growing up, Adam growing up, and then now I've got Audrey in 2001, and I have her baby book. So this is just, again, another way of just looking at your data, if you want to call it that, or just kind of looking at your projects. And so all of these now will go right behind your project tracker tab if you wanted to use this form. So I just wanted to show you that as a little housekeeping tip at the beginning. Now, another question I had was on the timeline trackers, and someone wrote in and said, well, can you use this for heritage? Absolutely. You can use these timeline trackers for any project that you want. And I had actually started using this form when Betty was here, when my mother-in-law Betty was here visiting. And what I found was that she had very few photographs, kind of from when she was born. Actually, we couldn't find any baby photos of her, which was really sad. We did find a few pictures of her mom, but her earliest pictures were about when she was about 15, 16, 17, we're thinking. And so what I ended up doing was just writing the date that we think that those earliest photos, and then I put down in this box the earliest photos of her. So this is just kind of a snapshot of the photos that I have of her. And again, like I said, there's not really that many, but just kind of so I can keep them in order as we're going to scan those photos in, print them larger, because a lot of them are really small, and then create this heritage book for her. And as I mentioned in the project tracker, so what we found when we were going through all of these photos is that there was kind of a natural break for her when she married her husband, Jerry. So she had a first marriage, had 4 children with her first marriage, and then was divorced and then remarried Jerry. So kind of after 1964, that's going to be another timeline where that starts her life with Jerry. So you can also kind of look at timelines for heritage and look at kind of natural breaks as to how you want to group photos together. If you're one of the lucky ones like Jerry, who had a lot more photos of his family and his heritage, he has 3 volumes of wonderful, wonderful heritage photos that he's put together in those albums. Then your timeline would be a lot more detailed than this one is. So again, I just want to kind of share that the timeline tracker, use it however you like it. Also, what I want to mention is that I have now on my Facebook page at Craft Some Joy with Lauren Hines, I have set up a POP group, a Progress on Projects group page. And that will be a wonderful place that you guys can talk to each other about how you're using these different trackers and what's working for you. And I think that's a great way that we can kind of draw on everyone's experience and see the best way to use these. So I'm excited about the new group. I am also really new to groups and using Facebook. And so I'm going to do this as a learning process with you, but right now it is a private group, so go ahead and ask to join, and then I will go ahead and add you to the group. So that's a little bit about the project tracker, okay? And we talked about that in that form, and then also a little bit more about the timeline tracker and that you can use that for heritage photos, of course. And if you do want to just use this as a chronological year by year, just print out several of these. You might have to print out 10 of them so that you can just keep track. And then across, it'll give you a space where you can take notes about the photos you have, or maybe who you want to talk to get the stories that you need in order to fill in that date. So wonderful, wonderful resource. And I look forward to hearing about how you guys use this in the Facebook group. So check it out. Okay, and so I just want to go through another tracker that I was not able to talk about in the last session, and that's the tracker that says keeping track of, and then a blank, and then a bunch of squares on it. And so I'm just going to show you how I am using this tracker. And again, this was kind of developed out of a conversation with some of my friends about what it kind of takes to keep track of kids and while they're in school and all the different activities and so forth. And so this tracker is just another way of looking at a view of each of your children. So this would be for folks who want to just go back and look at their children's school years and kind of get an idea of the overview of that, or create this if they are raising their children and kind of have a timeline set out for things that they want to work on. So I'm just going to show you how I have this set up for Eric, my youngest. And so for his tracker, I put his name here and I just included a page 1 in the corner. As you go down the album column, you can see that his very first album is his baby album. And so the date for that is when he was born. He was born in July 2003. Of course, he doesn't have a birthday. And then over here, I did include a status column. So is that book complete? Yes, that one's complete. His next book is a first-year book, and so I have a date range for that. So that was from when he was born in July 03, kind of after his first month, all the way up to his first birthday, which is in July 04. And then I do have a little note here. This was a palette that I was using, and so I just made a note here of that. Now that one is just about finished, but there's a little bit more that I need to journal in that book, and so it's almost complete. And again, one of the reasons why I say use a pencil for these trackers is so that when you do finish, you can just erase that and then move it over to the complete column. Okay, and then for his childhood album, as I mentioned in the previous video, now I'm looking at a group of time for his childhood. And so now I'm going to look at second birthday all the way through his 6th birthday and group all of these photos together. So I'm going to go from the next month, from August in 04, and then his 2nd birthday, which is in July 05, all the way through his 6th birthday, which is in July of 09. And that project I haven't started, so that's still a not started column. Then as I go down the tracker, I've added this little column here, and I put in there that that's where his first school book, his volume 1 school book, is going to include these 3 grades. And it's going, and for Eric, I put kindergarten 1st and 2nd. I put the date ranges here. I put his birthdays in this column. And then over here, I put the name of his elementary school and then his teacher. And my kids all had numbers associated to them. That's really helpful for finding memorabilia, and which year or which grade it goes to is to look for that number. So this is a good place to keep that, as well as the teachers. You could also add in here in this column, in the notes column, different sports teams they were on or scouts they were in, and so just kind of put that right in the notes column as well. So you can see this will just keep going through. It'll be his volume 2, which is including 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And then I'm switching to an all about Eric starting at middle school. And that's what I talked about in the last episode, is having an all about book. And so these are the date ranges that will be included in that. These are the birthdays that will be included in that. And then his middle school and his high school. Again, this is an optional form, so you just see if this is something that will be helpful for you, and if it is, then go ahead and pop that behind another tab in your notebook. And again, as I mentioned, this is behind my kids tab. Now, after I get all of my trackers done for my kids, that's where I will be putting the album project form, and then the album project is going to be all about Adam, and then I'm putting down here notes on what his title pages and categories are going to be, and then also the tag and keyword, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So each one of my kids is going to have an album project tracker in behind the kids tab, and again, title pages and notes and anything about their album project that I want to keep track of. And also, I just want to mention that I had another request to have a album project form that was just kind of a general box, so that if you are starting an album project and you just want to continue brainstorming what that album is going to look like, you can just have kind of an overview form of that. And so I will be updating the Pop printables to include that overview album project form, so you can look for that if you'd like to print that out and just add that, and that would go behind your album project. It would be just a continuation. So I love getting the feedback from all of you out there who are going through this process with me, and we can come up with some great ideas. And again, the Facebook group will be another way that we can share all of this wonderful information. All right, well, now I want to transition over to how I have my photo boxes set up and ready to start organizing my photographs. And because I kind of see that you need to have your thought process down of the different ways that you want to create your album projects, then you have to have a way to organize it. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about photos, about printed and digital photos, but we also need the place to put all of those photos. And so that's the next thing that I'm going to talk about in this video. But before I do that, I want to show you something in your Pop Planner that's going to help set up those boxes. And so as I mentioned, I'm doing 3 different categories of album projects for this decade and forward. And one of those is chronological big moments. And this section is not that hard to get set up in your Power Sort box, because this is just a chronological look at your years. And so in my Power Sort box, I have tabs, and I used my label maker and just some cards and put all the different years across. And so that's how my Big Moments Power Sort box is set up. So Big Moments is pretty easy to get all of those set up. And then behind each of the years, I've already kind of started taking photographs that I had just kind of already printed and around my craft room, and then categorizing them because they were a big moment. Like this one says Thanksgiving, and that was in 2008, and so that's behind the 2008 tab. So this is just a great place now when I find photos that I come across, or as I'm organizing or sorting, now I have a place for all of my Big Moments photographs, and they're in the Big Moments Power Sort box. Now, I just want to mention here about the Power Sort box. And if you remember in my 5 favorite products video, this is one of my 5 favorite Creative Memories products. It holds a lot of photos, and I love this because it has the little pods in here. So if you just want to take a pod out and work on a certain group of photographs, you can do that, and then you just slide that right back in. It is also photo-safe polypropylene, so anything stored in here is going to be archival. That is really important to me. And the other thing is it does hold quite a bit of photographs, and you can kind of compare it to a regular photo box. So you can see it is actually taller and it is deeper. So you're going to get a lot more stored in this box than you would just a normal photo box. but there are options. Definitely there are options. So if you want to use just your regular photo boxes, that's an option. You can use the power sort boxes. That's an option. So there's a lot of different ways you can store your photos, but I would recommend looking at an archival solution. And again, I just want to mention that if you like the Creative Memories boxes, they are an investment to get started. And I do have 5 of these, and I thought I was going to get started with 4 of these boxes, but I've realized I need a 5th box for my archive, and I may even be getting yet 1 more box. But the good news is that I'm a consultant, and so I get these at a discount, and that is available for you as well. So it is really easy just to sign up, get a bunch of goodies when you sign up as a Creative Memories advisor. It's like a membership. It's $49 a year, super easy. And then you get your own discount on all the Creative Memories products. So I love that part. And so I look at this by the time I take my discount and look at the quality and the construction, that this is definitely a worthwhile investment. So I just want to kind of mention that as I'm going through and showing you how I have my boxes set up. Before we move on to my theme album box, I do want to just show you. So here is my archive box, how I have this one labeled archive. And these are just photographs that I have already gone through, and I've decided they are not going in any of my albums. And so this is kind of my holding place until I can put them into long-term storage. And then again, if we go back to our Pop Planner, I'm going to go over to the tab for theme albums. So as I look for my type of theme albums, I've already marked off the types of albums that I want to do for my family. And from this sheet is how I'm going to organize and create my power sort box for my theme albums. Okay, so my theme album box looks like this. It says theme albums on the top. And then in my box, I started off first by my All About books. So I have All About Ellen, All About Adam, All About Audrey, and All About Eric. So these are the books of, as I mentioned, from my trackers, I'm going to put middle through all the way through high school. So anything that I want to put in my kids' books are going to come right in here and get dropped into these boxes. Again, so those are theme albums. Now, another theme album that I'm working on is when my husband and I were dating and kind of all the way up to our marriage. And so that is a Lauren and John album, and I just want to kind of finish up that album. So I made a tab for that. I'm also working on a Christmas album, so I made a tab for that. And then I want to do a pets album, and so I made a tab for our pet photos. And you can see I already have quite a few little folders in here for our pets. So your theme album box is going to look a lot different than mine, but again, you can just kind of categorize into the different theme albums. And again, this box has the different pods, so that was helpful in kind of organizing. Each child has a pod of their own, and then all of those photos get slipped right in back of the tab. Now I want to show you, because a lot of times I do get asked, how did I make the tabs? Well, those tabs I wasn't able to find, but I was able to find these chalkboard labels that were in rectangles. And so what I did in order to recreate my little banners is I ordered the rectangles, and again, my favorite Posca pens. And then you can just cut the rectangles in half and then make your own little banner. And there's different ways you can make the banners, but I'm pretty casual about it, and I just freehand my little banner angle at the end, and then you can just write on here what the album is with your Posca paint pen. Okay, so we have talked about the Big Moments Power Sort box, the Archive box, and the Theme Album box, which leaves Library of Memories. And I saved the best for last here, folks, because Library of Memories actually may take a little more thought about how to get that set up for you, because each of us is going to have a different idea of how our Library of Memories is going to go together. So I just want to give you a quick overview of how I have that set up in my Pop Planner. And again, I'm using the tab here that's called Library of Memories. And there is a overview worksheet here for each of the 4 different categories. And again, those categories are things we do, places we go, people we love, and all about us. And again, the Library of Memories idea was originally created by Stacy Julian, and so I always recommend, if you'd like to learn more details about the Library of Memories, pop on over to her website at stacyjulian.com. And she has wonderful information there all about the Library of Memories. So what I did was I took her idea about creating these 4 different categories and then thought about how to use that for my album making projects. And so I made these trackers for each of the different categories in the Library of Memories. So I just want to kind of briefly go through how I have my pages set up for Library of Memories scrapbooking. But what I'm going to do for you all is post all the different categories about things we do in everyday life, things we do, the different other categories, places we go, people we love, and all about us. I'm going to give you a worksheet with all of these different ideas on it so that you can fill out your tracker the way that's going to work best for you and your albums. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So first off, in the things we do ended up being a very large category. If you remember, my Library of Memories Things We Do box is the entire box just for things that we do. I realized that once I started making all the different categories for this box, that I was going to need a whole box for just this volume in my Library of Memories. Okay, so Things We Do has its own Power Sort box. So the first category in Things We Do is everyday life. And this is where, again, we're looking at those photos. And this is where you might find these photos on Instagram or on Facebook, those fun everyday photos that you have. And for me, a lot of these photographs are all of those miscellaneous photos. If I'm scrolling through my photos by the year, these are all of those miscellaneous photos that are not a big moment. So all my big moments I've pulled out, and those go into the chronological Big Moments Power Sort box. But these are all those wonderful extra photographs. And so as I was looking through, and this is what I would recommend for you, as I was took a year and I scrolled through and I go, what kind of photos do we take? What are things that we do in our everyday life? And I was able to start creating categories. Now, when the kids are younger, you're going to have things like bath time. But as they get older, you might have a category called cars. And so one of the things my husband and I thought would be really fun is to have a little section in our everyday life of when each of the kids got their car. And, you know, the big smile on their face when they've got their very first car. And so we'll have a page that's going to take that across time and look at all of those photos together. My family also loves to cook and bake and so on and so forth. So everyone's list in their everyday life is going to look different. So I hope that makes sense. Your life is going to look really different than mine. Now here's how I want you to fill out your tracker. And again, I would recommend using a pencil. Is that the general category, the big category, I want you to underline it. So how does that look in the Power Sort box? So in my Power Sort box, I just pulled out a couple of the pods from my box. I have my title, which is Things We Do. Then I have Everyday Life. So these are the miscellaneous photos of everyday life in my family. So what I did is I took a photo folder and I labeled it Everyday Life, and then I color coded it. Now these are some of my favorite highlighters. These are called the mild liners, and I just bought a pack of these, and they have really beautiful colors. And so I just picked a color that I wanted to use for designating the different sections within this Things We Do album. So the Things We Do, this is going to be an album. But Everyday Life, the way I see this is going to be a title page. And I'll be spending a little more time showing you how I'm getting my album set up and how I'll be doing my title pages, but I just kind of wanted to give you that heads up right now. So Everyday Life, this is going to be a title page in my Things We Do album. So what's going to be behind that title page? It's going to be all of these different miscellaneous pictures. And so I created all of the different photo folders for all those different areas of everyday life. So while we're talking about photo folders, as I mentioned, I want you to print out a whole bunch of these, and these are available to download for free on my website at craftssomejoy.com. And I did have another question about these folders. As you see, they are kind of tall and they stick up a little bit past the Power Sort box. Well, for me, that's not really much of a problem because I usually have the lid underneath and I just keep this open so that I can file photos. But if you do want to close it, you have two options. You can just put the cover on, and if you just work from one side to the other, the top of the photo folders will just kind of bend as you work the cover on, and then you can just use the elastic on the side and then the cover just sits right on it. Now, if you're not using one of the Creative Memories Power Sort boxes and you have a smaller box, there's another option, and that's just to do another trim on your folders. And so here's an example. Here's a folder, and if you don't want your folders to stick up past the edge of your box, then what I would recommend is for you to just go ahead and trim right above the subject line. So you can see here I have Brighton Beach written on the top here, but again, if you don't want that extended, just go ahead and trim that off, and you could actually put that subject below the line. Okay, so you could put that subject here and just put Brighton Beach on that line, and you could still see it, and then also include your photographs in your folder. So it's just up to you. When I was designing these folders, I kind of wanted to make it the fewest cuts possible. And so for me, having the edge stick up a little bit wasn't an issue. But if it is for you, then again, I just recommend you'd have to make one additional cut to your folder, and then you'll be good to go. But I would keep this fold the same size as it is so that it nicely fits your photographs right inside the little pockets inside the folder. So, okay, so I hope that makes sense for when you're creating all of your folders for your Power Sort boxes. Okay, now one other thing I want to mention before we move off of this page in my Pop Planner is that this column here you are going to find, if you have digital photos, is a very, very important column. And this is the tag or the keyword column. And so here's where you will need to start thinking about how you want to find the photos that are going to go into this album. And so I have looked at all of my different categories and all my title pages and so forth. And then from there, I've decided what my keyword is going to be. Now I do use a Mac computer, and so all of my photos are in Photos, which is a native app to a Mac computer. And I'm going to share a little bit more about how I have my photos organized, my digital photos organized and stored in my computer in another episode. And so I will be talking about that. But for any good photo software, you will have the ability to either create a tag or a keyword for a photo or a group of photos. So this is going to be really important when you go back to look for photos or look to print photos. So my keyword for my everyday life and for the Things We Do album is Things We Do, TWD, and then an underscore and life. So everything here, all of these photos, all of these will all be digitally keyword have Things We Do underscore life. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I'll get into this a little bit more when I talk about organizing digital photographs, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So my second box for the Library of Memories continues with Things We Do. Again, this is my album, Things We Do. And then these will be additional title pages. So I'm going to have a title page that's Seasons, Colors, Sports and Rec, Traditions, and Accomplishments. And so for me, each one of those is going to have a keyword associated with it. And again, looking through my photographs, these are types of photos that I'm coming across that I want to organize into my Things We Do album. Okay, so again, each of you will approach this according to what works for you and how you take photos. Okay, the next one in Library of Memories is the Places We Go. And again, that is an album. So now we've switched from the Things We Do album, and now we're talking about the Places We Go album. So in my Places We Go album, these again are going to be my title pages where I have the line drawn underneath and different title pages that I have, and then also the keywords. Now here I just want to show you that you can also look at even categorizing further the types of pictures under your title page. So if you want to create a tag or a keyword, like an overview one is home, but if you want to do a specific one, you could even go Places We Go underscore home underscore and then a further categorization of that. Okay, so that just kind of gives you an idea of how to set up your Places We Go and also your keywords. The next album is The People We Love, and as I mentioned, this is going to be a separate album in my library, and the People We Love are going to have title pages for grandparents, my Tennessee family, my Hines family, my Bornman family, and different friends. And so those will all have different keywords as I'm going through and organizing those photos. And then the last album is the All About Us. And again, this is an album. And this album is going to have All in the Family, Together Forever, Oh Boy, Just the Girls, With Mom, With Dad, Lauren and John, and Our Dreams. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about each of these categories. I'm not going to do it now. I'm just kind of giving you something to think about. But my next episode, I'm going to invite Maria back, and we're going to get kind of into a little more detail about how do you decide which picture goes where? How do you decide which category goes where? But again, right now, I just kind of want to give you an overview of the tracker so you can start thinking about this process and thinking about how you would approach it. Okay, so again, this is the album All About Us. Now, in the original look at the Library of Memories, Stacy Julian did have the All About books for her kids in this category. But for me, I felt it was better to move that into a theme album because my theme albums, to me, correspond to my kids. And so all of those, All About Ellen, All About Adam, all of those books are in my theme album category and not in my library of memories. So this is just kind of a bigger picture about us, about our family, kind of more about us together. And then all of my kids have their own theme album that's just about them. I felt with 4 children that this was going to be too big for me and for my family. Now, if you don't have kids or if you don't have that many pictures of your kids, you could also think about including them in the All About Us album, if that works for you. So again, just kind of think about your situation and how this process would work for you. Okay, so I know that was a lot of information, and feel free to watch and rewatch this episode again to kind of get a better understanding. Go to that Facebook page, the group, my new group for POP, and ask questions and see if you can get some ideas and information from that community as well. And also make sure if you want to leave me questions, go ahead and leave those either on my Instagram, on Facebook, or on my YouTube channel. I love comments and I love hearing from all of you what's working for you. And one of the things I love seeing when people write in is that a comment that says, "You've motivated me to start scrapbooking again." And every time I see that, I want to do a little happy dance because that's my goal. It is a good day when I read a comment like that, where I have given you some encouragement and some thoughts and some tools for you to start making albums again, because that is a passion of mine. I think there is no better gift to give yourself, to give your family, and to give those people that you love. There's nothing better than giving them an album with pictures and words of love and encouragement. So that just makes my day. I just wanted to make sure you all knew that. So as we kind of wrap up today, I'm going to just show you a few of the ways I have things set up here in my craft room. And I just want to show you this great new cart that I purchased from Michaels. And this is called the Essex cart. And I ordered mine at michaels.com. And I did quite a bit of research to find a cart that would actually work perfectly with the power sort boxes. I looked on Amazon and I kept looking at dimensions, and lo and behold, this great cart at Michaels, which of course you can use their sale and their coupons for, was exactly what I was looking for. So this cart is so fantastic. You can put 6 power sort boxes. They fit perfectly on the 2 top shelves. And then it's got some fantastic drawers. And I love this because I have this sitting right next to my workspace, and I am using the drawers for all of my printer paper. And you know how I love to print at home. And so I'm finding this is just a great little workflow triangle area where I can have my printer, I have my printer paper, I have my photographs. And so every time I work on a session where I look at my digital photos, I can print those, I can put them right into my power sort boxes. I've got my paper at my fingertips. So I just love this setup. Also, I just wanted to show you the new organizer available through Creative Memories. It is the perfect place for memorabilia. So in this process, I don't want to forget to mention you need a good system for your memorabilia as well. This is how I have my memorabilia stored, which is in the record sleeve holders. And again, I'll leave a link for these. And then I have just a 12 by 12 paper slid in, and then I put on that paper the year. And so any memorabilia for that year just goes right into that record sleeve holder, the plastic holder, and then it's all sorted by year. Another thing you can put in these memorabilia pockets are enlargements or professional photos in the appropriate year. As I've mentioned before, when you're going through and setting up your power sort boxes, you want to make a note on your photo folders if you have an enlargement or if there's different memorabilia that you need to work into your albums. This is just one option. There are a lot of other options out there. So you just need to find a place for larger items where you can have them stored and easily accessible. So I want to wrap up this episode by giving you your marching orders until we meet next time. And this was, again, a lot of information to take in, I know, but it is so good to just write everything down. It's so good. It's so good to have a place that you can keep track of everything and your album projects. And the good thing is, unlike laundry, once you have this done, you don't have to redo it. And once you have this done, you're going to have that resource always available for you. So there's a little bit of an investment of time in the beginning, but it's going to be really worth it to have this available for you to always have when you're going through your digital photos. I've got a list of what my keywords are, or as I'm going through the photos, is that going to be a Library of Memories photo, or is that going to be a Big Moments photo? It's all here. It's all written down. And that's really, really important in order to look at your workflow through your projects. So if I haven't lost you guys yet, and you're still with me on my pop journey, I'm going to give you some homework. And your homework is to make a bunch of photo folders so that you can have them handy and you can start creating sections for your different types of albums that you want to make. And these photo folders are going to work not just for subject and date, but these are going to work for categories. These are going to work for title pages. These are going to work for all those different types of things that you need to organize in your power sort boxes. The other homework that I'm going to give you is to either order your power sort boxes, and you can do that on my website, or if you have some, get them ready and labeled and make cards and make your general album categories. And then really think about the types of albums that you want to make, the types of albums that you want to see on your bookshelves, and write it down, put it in your tracker, and get a good handle on that, because our next episode, we're really going to get into the process of looking at pictures and sorting and using this system. So I'm hoping your homework is to get everything set up, and then we'll get into a little more detail on how to use this system. So as I mentioned, if you have questions, make sure you leave a comment. Pop on over to my Facebook Progress on Projects group and check that out. And then until next time, I hope you take time to do your homework, work on your pop planner, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.